Well, things just keep going from bad to worse. The latest CPI report has just came out and it puts inflation at 9.1%. This is absolutely terrible news, and to make it even worse, this is actually the largest increase in a 12-month period since November of 1981. And I guess to make it even worse is that I keep saying that same phrase each and every month because it keeps on getting worse each and every month. There's not really much we can do other than put our hands up and go along for the ride. And the reason for this is because we can't do much about it. You want to put your money in the stock market, it's currently been plummeting for the last few months. You want to take your money out of the stock market and hold it in cash? Well, guess what? You just lost 9.1% of your money over the last 12 months. You want to put it in other things like crypto? Of course it could bounce back, but crypto has crashed incredibly hard as well. There's just not many options for an individual person right now to kind of protect their money and to kind of figure things out on their own. We just have to be along for the ride and let this thing smooth itself out if it ever does. Of course, it probably will one day, but that day seems like it is quite far away at this point. Now, with that being said, of course, there are other options sometimes, like investing in property. But guess what? Property prices have exploded, meaning that if you didn't get in before, it might be a riskier time to get in now, because what could be next? And the next domino very well might be the housing market. A lot of people say that isn't the case because supply has not met the demand yet, and we're still way underproducing these houses, and there's still too much demand and everybody bidding on everything left and right. Some people will be right, some people will be wrong, but that's still a risk you have to take if you're thinking about property. And a lot of people don't even have that luxury. Most people don't have that luxury. Property takes a lot of resources to get involved with, and a lot of risk is going to be going along with that as well. So that's just another factor of something that isn't available for most people. And then the next part of that is, of course, the looming recession. With all of this news, with all of this negativity and lack of production and supply chain issues, we're having that looming recession risk, which means that a lot of people might end up losing their job. There's a lot of different bits of information floating around right now. As is with any time you'll have financial news, there will always be two sides to every story. One side thinks they're right, the other side thinks they're right. One of them has to be wrong. Sometimes you kind of meet in the middle, but there is the risk of a lot of people losing their jobs as well, on top of all of the value being lost in things like the stock market and cash and whatnot. So it's a very tricky time right now to dive into this 9.1% inflation report that has just been released. I actually want to take a look at some public opinion, and I thought there's no better way to do that than to look at some Reddit comments. So let's go on a few different threads and see what people are saying about this. So this is from the r/stocks subreddit, where they posted the news about this report. We have Driftwoody11. This is just terrible. To bring inflation under control, a recession is basically unavoidable at this point. And you have some joking in the comments. I stopped eating avocado toast. It'll all be fine. And so that's how you make yourself recession proof. Unfortunately, that is going to be the case for a vast majority of people, is to cut down on all those unnecessary expenses. That's no way to live. You should be able to do the things you want and not stress too much about money. But the unfortunate circumstances means that people do have to be very realistic. They do have to be very careful with the money they're spending. With the looming recession, things are going to be tough for probably quite some time right now. And you're going to have to make every move you can to kind of optimize the way you spend and save your money. Because you don't really have much room to spare, unfortunately. Now, this one's interesting because it's not so much stating their personal opinion, it's actually just some quotes from Jerome Powell going through the process of how we've gotten to where we are. For example, in October 2022, when inflation was at 5.39%. Remember, we're at 9.1% right now, so close to double that range. I don't think it's time to taper. I don't think it's time to raise rates. Our policy is well positioned to manage a range of plausible outcomes. That didn't age well. That didn't age well at all. Going forward, we now have it November 3rd of 2021, when inflation was at 6.22%. A bit of a quote here. We understand the difficulties that high inflation poses for individuals and families. Let me say that what's happened is that inflation is coming higher than expected. We see that just like everyone else does. And we see that they're now on track to persist well into next year. I do think it would be premature to raise rates today. Now, there's a bunch here, but I'm just going to skip through because it would take a while to read them all. We've also got the old system was in place for decades, and then suddenly it was revealed as insufficient. We do take the need to protect our credibility with the public very seriously. And that was January 11th, when the last report for inflation was at 7.04%. This screenshot alone shows quite a range of emotions. We've got, I love losing money. We have, so this big pile of cash I'm sitting on is becoming as worthless as the stocks I'm waiting to buy with it. This is fine. Someone says, still better than losing 20% in SPY, which is true, of course, but 9.1% doesn't feel very good either. And then, of course, just RIP everything. Yeah, there's not many options. A lot of things are absolutely plummeting, and that's kind of how it feels. It's just everything is kind of at a loss right now. Now, this one I like to point out because he says, to be honest, the stock reaction doesn't seem that bad. No huge losses in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ for now, just an average drop. And I think that it is an interesting thing to think about, and as the person below him says, it may be way too overused, but I think this is already priced in. And to a certain extent, I absolutely think that's true. I think a lot of this is priced in. I think a lot of people are expecting it to get worse and worse for quite some time here, but that doesn't mean that the reactions are always warranted. You know, there's a lot of irrational things going on in the market right now. A lot of different people panicking, a lot of different people trying to stay calm and price this in, as we've said. So there's going to be days where you see all sorts of different reactions. There will be days where we'll see massive pumps just to kind of relieve some pressure for a little bit, and then things will come plummeting back down. So with that being said, that's just the quick video I wanted to make today. Just talk about that CPI report that has been released. 9.1% inflation. It's absolutely shocking, but at the same time, not really shocking. The whole idea of it is shocking, but I'm not surprised to see a number like that right now. And unfortunately, most people aren't that shocked either. That's just kind of the world we're living in right now. But with that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Please do let me know your opinions in the comments down below. I'd love to get a little discussion going and reply to some of you guys down there and hear what you guys have to say. But other than that, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace.